This chair's gonna be squeaking the whole time. But I just wanted to sit down and make this video today because I feel like a lot of you know me on Instagram, but I don't share my whole life story there. You can kind of collect bits and pieces, but you don't have the whole thing. So part of why I wanted to sit down and make this video was I really wanted to share my full origin story with you guys, because there are so many different events in my confidence journey that makes up who I am today, and the mindset shifts, the confidence that you see me embodying today. Like, this didn't just happen overnight. This was, I mean, I would say when it was really pivotal, it started in 2020, but all my life I've struggled with being shy. Like, I could never stand up for myself, never set boundaries. I was always a follower. I was always being walked all over. I wasn't confident. I thought that I was confident in some areas as I got older, but as I really dove deep into like who I am and everything that makes up me, I realized like there's still a lot of areas where I was overcompensating for this confidence that I didn't actually have. So it's hard because sometimes I'm like, I don't even know where to start because there's so many different things. But I wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of first where my childhood started. Like I said, I was a very shy kid. My face would get beet red, especially when I was talking to people who I deemed popular. I thought they were so much cooler than me. I put everyone on a pedestal. Like, I would get obsessed with guys, and I just thought like, oh, they'd never like me. Like, I'm not worthy. I'm not pretty enough. So I just like obsess about them from afar. And it was just like, I don't know. I didn't think I was good enough at all. And so, I mean, I didn't like the way I dressed. I got made fun of. I got bullied a lot. Some of the bullying instances was like, I got made fun of for dressing like Dora. Now, it's kind of silly now because I look back and I'm like, okay. Like, I did dress like Dora. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, I had on these orange sweat shorts and like a purple top, or like vice versa. And I'm like, girl, where was the style? But it's fine. It's fine. We accept that part of me. She didn't know how to dress herself, and that's okay. Because now I know how to dress myself, and I know how to look back and heal those inner child parts of me. But anyway, that was one bullying instance. And then the one I think had like the two big ones actually that had a huge impact on me was when I was in, I want to say third grade maybe second. I think it was third though. I had this friend, and every day on the bus, we rode the bus together. I don't know why it started, but they pinched me. Like, I don't even know how to say that without it sounding so random, but we'd be on the bus and they'd pinch me. And I would be like, oh no, stop, like, ow, like, that hurts. Well, at first I didn't even say stop. I was kind of like, oh, stop. And I was very shy. Like I said, I could not stand up for myself. It got to a point where the girl I was friends with was like telling me, stand up for yourself. Like, tell me to stop. Like, I'm not going to stop till you tell me to stop. I mean, part of me is like, good on her for trying to help me stand up for myself, but also she was the problem. And I tried so hard, but I was so unconfident. I was so shy. I couldn't do it. I tried so hard. I kept being like, oh, stop. And she's like, no, you're still not standing up for yourself enough. Continues to pinch me. I came home bleeding. Like, that's how hard they would pinch me. And it sucks when you think about the fact that your friend especially would do something like that to you. There were also experiences in my past with her where I hated whipped cream. I still hate whipped cream. I don't know what it is. I can't get into it. I'm sorry for the people who love it. But I was at her house, and I don't know why, she just wanted to like torment me, it felt like. And anything that I say today, like, this is just my experience. I don't think she's a bad person, especially now. Like, she looks like she's doing amazing in life. Like, no bad blood towards her. This is just what I experienced when I was younger. And so there was this one time where she was like, oh, try this strawberry whipped cream. And I'm like, oh, I don't like whipped cream. Like, no. And she's like, no, try it. It's so good. I'm like, no, I don't want it. Like, this is me trying to be like, stand my ground. Be like, I don't like whipped cream. Like, no, I don't want it. And she's like, Maggie, just try it. And I finally gave in because I was like, I had a fear around like, oh, she's getting mad at me now. I have to do what she says. And it was mousse, like hair mousse. So she forced me to eat chemicals. And it's like, I don't know, I can't even wrap my head around why someone would treat another human being like that. But like, we were kids and kids are just cruel, and that's the only thing I can think of why she would do that. So that was like a huge time in my life or a huge moment in my life that kind of traumatized me. And then another thing was when I was in Girl Scouts when I was younger. I remember this girl coming up to me and being like, oh, Maggie, you're really funny, but you're not that pretty. What? Where are these kids coming from, first of all? Like, why? I felt like a victim. I'm like, why are all these people bullying me? Why are they being mean to me? Like, what is wrong with me? And this is what happened. It created these beliefs in my head that there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't worthy. Like, what's going on? And so, I just remember hearing that, and ever since then, it kind of created this belief in my head that, oh, guys are not going to like me because I'm not pretty. Like, I needed to somehow prove myself to others in order to be liked, whether it's by friends or by guys. And I think, honestly, that's what caused my feelings of unworthiness and not feeling good enough because I'm not attractive. And so just like little things like that in my childhood happened. Again, it was just so shy. And then, you know, we all go through that kind of thing, I feel like, when we're younger. But the things that were really pivotal in my confidence was it started in... Wait, actually, I'm going to go back a little bit. Throughout my high school experience, and again, this is my experience. None of these things are made to make this person or these people look like bad people. This is just how I felt. This is my own experience, and I just want to preface that before going into all this. But there was this guy that I liked my freshman year of high school. I ended up actually I didn't go to my town's high school. I went to a vocational technical high school. And so I only knew like 10 kids. Only 10 kids from my town went to this school. And of course, being obsessed with guys, as I was back then, I developed a crush on this guy, and moral of the story, we had 7 years of history of back and forth. We never dated. Then we did date, but only for a short period of time. But 7 years of obsessing over someone? Who am I? I have no idea, because all I care about is this guy. That's like, I used to believe, and I don't consciously believe this, but like my subconscious really, I think, believed that my main purpose in life was to have a crush on a guy. And it wasn't just him. Like, there were other guys that came in and out of my life, like crushes. And this guy, I mean, it was really tough because I let him depict my worth. And I did everything to get his attention. I just wanted him to like me. And if you've been through this before, you know, as young girls, what we do in order to get guys to like us. Like, we will literally morph into someone that we're not in order to be valued, in order to be liked, in order to be loved. And it really took a lot out of me, especially going on for that long. And my experience with him was, you know, we'd Snapchat, like y'all do in high school and still now, I guess, but we'd Snapchat, and I would try to show interest in him, and he'd show interest in me, and then all of a sudden it was like cold turkey. He just completely ghosted me. And I'm like, what? Like, it's like he cut off my oxygen. Like, that's the best metaphor I can think of. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, why isn't he answering? Like, I'm getting obsessive and anxious and insecure. I'm like, am I ugly? What's wrong with me? Like, why doesn't he like me? And then all of a sudden he comes back. And I'm like, oh my God, he's back. Like, thank God. Thank God. Everything is okay now. And we'd flirt. And then all of a sudden he disappears again. Completely cut off. Oxygen, gone. And now I'm like, how do I live? I don't know how to live. What? Oh my God, I need him. Why doesn't he like me? And so I say this to kind of paint you a picture of what it felt like for 7 years of my life. It was this constant, like, chase, ghost, cut off, all this stuff. And it caused me to have this anxious attachment with him, and caused me to have anxious attachment with everyone around me, whether it was friendships, relationships, whatever it might be. And I did not like if anybody... Basically, this caused me, I think, to be a people pleaser. That was part of the reason why I became a people pleaser, is because I needed this person to like me, and when they just disappeared, it's like I was grasping for any little bit of validation I could get from him. And it caused me to just solely rely on that validation from him in order to feel valued, in order to be liked. And so it caused me to dress a certain way. I'm not proud of it. I mean, it's not like I went too crazy, but I was constantly, the whole idea behind it is I'm wearing the leggings, I'm wearing the crop tops, like showing off my butt, like showing off my body, anything that was tight, you name it, I wore it. Because I didn't feel like, especially going back to that belief of that girl saying, you're really funny, but you're not that pretty. It's like, I didn't believe that, like, okay, maybe actually, how do I word this? She's telling me I have a good personality, but I'm not attractive. So now I'm making up for it by completely throwing away my sense of self and overcompensating by showing off my body in ways that I didn't respect about myself. And it just... I used my body in order to, like, the looks of my body in order to gain attention from people. And it sucks that I did that for so long because... And I do think about it, it's like, okay, I do have a nice body, but I developed this idea that I am my body. That now I look at myself and I'm like, I'm intelligent, I'm funny, I'm caring, I'm empathetic. There's so many amazing qualities that make up who Maggie is, but this version of Maggie did not see that. She did not see herself for anything but an object for men to value. And it sucks that I felt that way, because that's not who I am, and that's never who I want to be. And as I got into college, the same thing happened. I get to college and I go to this really nice private school, and another little thing to throw in there just for details in the future, I didn't really grow up with a lot of money, so going to a private school like this, my parents, I'm very grateful for them allowing me to do this because it was the only place that had the major that I wanted at the time. I didn't even end up staying in that major. It was photography. But I didn't feel deserving of being there. I didn't feel deserving of being with the people who I deemed wealthy. I viewed everyone as like these private school, wealthy, attractive girls and guys, and I viewed myself as like, I'm not wealthy, I'm not attractive, I'm not good enough, like all these beliefs. It was a real wake-up call when I got to college. Also because I was not really a hard worker in high school, and when I got to college I was like, shit, you actually have to work hard. Sorry, I'm going all over the place. If you haven't, this is why it's also good to create YouTube videos. That's why I'm doing this, because honestly, I'm someone who, I like to go all over the place, and I always connect the story back. But, I don't know, it's kind of, maybe it's fun to follow. I don't know, maybe I'm not your cup of tea, maybe I am, but stay around for the ride, we'll see. But, and then I forget my thought, let's see. What I'm learning to do too is, whenever I lose my train of thought, just take a breath. Because when you breathe, now all of a sudden I feel calm again. Because, yeah, I'm a confidence coach, but even I get in my head. Even I spiral into conversation, and I'm working on being more grounded. But yeah, I get to college, and it was like a whole pool of attractive people. An amazing place for me to feel like a piece of shit is basically how I look at it. How I looked at it. And constantly comparing every girl that I became friends with, I was like, they're so pretty. I'm not pretty enough. Like, I'm nothing compared to them. And I started viewing it as like, I don't want to say, this is the first thing that came to mind. I don't want to be like, I viewed them as like trophy wives. But it's almost like I put them on a pedestal because of their attractiveness. And I wanted to be associated with pretty people because I didn't feel pretty. And obviously, as I got to know them, that drifted away because I was like, I genuinely like these people. But in the beginning, I was like, I didn't feel worthy of being friends with pretty people. Like, that's so weird to me. And so then, where am I going with this? So, yeah, just a lot of comparison going on, a lot of not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy. And also keep in mind, I was still on and off with this guy. At this point, we were just friends, but it was just always something on and off there. Now I want to flash forward, though, to 2020. We did end up dating. And Maggie, your dreams came true. You finally got the guy. But let me tell you, by the time I finally got him, I realized that it was the idea of him that I wanted. It was this idea that this guy who didn't want me, that I was chasing all these years, that I finally got, that felt so good. And don't get me wrong, there of course were aspects of him that I did truly like, but it was more of, I idealized him. And soon I realized that it wasn't right. Like, your body, when you realize something's not right, your gut intuition, you will feel it. And let me tell you, I felt it. So ever since we had started dating, he asked me out, and I was like, yes. And the second that I said yes, I was like, no, this is not right. Like, I had so much anxiety. I blamed it on, I'm not ready for a boyfriend. Like, I can't commit. Like, this is scary. I've never had a real relationship before. Like, I don't know. And I look back and now I'm like, no, it just wasn't right. Like, and I didn't know. And I'm only human. And how would I have known? And that's why we can't get upset with ourselves for doing certain things and experiencing certain things, because we truly don't know until we go through it. So I dated him for a month. He ended up breaking up with me on Valentine's Day. It's fine. For all the, I know you're all gonna be like, what? It's fine, it doesn't matter. It's just a day. Like, we were fighting, we weren't getting along. Like, it's a holiday of love, but it doesn't really matter. I'm over it. No, I'm kidding. And so we dated for a month, he broke up with me, and then I was supposed to go on a cruise with his family, keep in mind. Also, it's a very difficult situation to explain because of, like, we've been friends for 7 years, had this back and forth thing for 7 years, then dated for a month. But he was like, I still want you to come on the cruise with me, like, we're still friends. And I was like, okay, because they had already, like, bought the tickets, it was already planned. And I'm like, okay, like, sounds good. And then I started getting, because I was going through all this, I started getting really anxious. And I believe I've always experienced, and I like to say experienced rather than had, anxiety, because then we put this identity on ourselves. But I've always experienced little glimpses of anxiety with, like, worrying and overthinking, but never, like, anxiety attacks and, like, a true feeling of, like, dealing with an anxiety disorder. And so I was like, oh, I don't have anxiety, like, whatever, it's whatever. But then when we broke up, obviously a lot of emotions are involved with that. And so I started to experience a lot of anxiety with that. And then afterwards, it was like I started experiencing anxiety around going on this cruise with his family. And I was like, I don't know if I should go now. Like, I feel like it's weird for me to still do this. And then this is where it got really bad. For those of you who are from the Massachusetts area, New England area, I had a friend who went to UMass Amherst, and I went to go visit her. And for those of you who don't know, there's this thing called Blarney. It's like this big event that UMass has for St. Patrick's Day. And so I went to visit her for Blarney. And actually, wait, pause. 2 weeks before Blarney, I want to preface, my friend Gabe and I went out for coffee, and usually, like, I love coffee. Usually coffee does not bother me, and I'm like, whatever, it's 7 p.m. Like, I'm just gonna have a coffee. Like, what's it gonna do to me? It's fine. Like, coffee doesn't affect me that much. And so We went out for coffee, drank it, whatever. I tried to go to bed that night and I could not fall asleep. And I don't remember, it's hard to remember, but if I fell asleep and woke up in the middle of the night, or if I just couldn't fall asleep, I have a feeling that's what it was. Because I'm laying in bed and tossing and turning, and I start getting anxiety around the fact that I'm gonna be running on no sleep tomorrow because I can't fall asleep because this coffee's keeping me awake. And that was the first night I ever had a panic attack. And it was the craziest feeling. Oh, I just got like chills thinking about it. It was the craziest feeling in the world. Because again, I've experienced worrying. Like I've worried and I've gotten like anxious, but I've never had an anxiety attack. And I just remember like waking up in the middle of the night and like saying to my roommate, Kat, I was like, Kat, like I'm freaking out. Like I don't know what's happening. Like you can feel it in your chest. Like it just, for those of you who experience anxiety attacks, like it's not easy. And I'm there with you and I feel you. And I just remember like her grabbing me water and bread and just like take deep breaths and like, you're okay. Like I'm here. And thank you, Kat, for all the sleepless nights because they started and she was there, and it was really helpful to have someone who was able to support me in that moment. And somehow I got through it and I fell asleep. I think because I like was hyper, what's the word? Hyper, when you're breathing really. Hyper, oh God, I can't even think of the word. I know you're all saying, this is what it is. But I was just breathing a lot. And I think I like tired myself out. And so I finally was able to get to bed, and I woke up the next day and I'm like, whew, like that was scary. Like what was that? I've never experienced an anxiety attack before until that very moment. And so 2 weeks after that, I go to UMass Amherst. Now we're back to the story. And I visit my friend Lauren, and I started taking CBD at night because like CBD oil drops, just to help me fall asleep. Because like I just wasn't sleeping well. Oh my God, I forgot the most important part. I had the worst TMJ. I've had TMJ since like my junior year of high school, but it was like on and off, and then it got so bad within this time period, and I was forced to sleep on my back. So I wasn't sleeping because I'm like, psychos sleep on their back. I can't do that shit. No. And so going through my breakup, not able to sleep, also jaw pain in general, not able to sleep because of the jaw pain, not able to eat certain things. I couldn't eat bagels anymore. Bagels were my favorite food. Now I'm not even able to eat them anymore because I can't have gluten, but I could probably find gluten-free ones. But so I'm going through all this stuff on top of thinking, oh God, now I have to go on this cruise with this man and his family, and we're broken up and this is weird, and like, what? And so basically this was all happening at once. And then I go to UMass and I take my CBD and I'm getting calm and I'm getting ready for bed. Also, I was so anxious thinking like, oh God, what if she wants to go out and party? We weren't going to do it that night because we had the whole day of Blarney. And I remember catching up with her because we hadn't caught up in so long. And it's not her fault and it's nobody's fault. But like, I'm a very fight or flight type of person. So when we talked, I got all hyped up. I was riled up. And then I couldn't fall asleep. By the time she was like, oh, it's 1 a.m, I'm gonna go to bed now. And I'm like, okay, me too. Or actually, it wasn't even 1. I think we went to bed by like 11. She went right to sleep. I'm sitting there with my mouth guard and I'm like, like, not okay. That mouth guard was so uncomfortable, by the way. For anyone who's had TMJ or like mouth issues, like, you feel me. So it's finally, like, I'm laying in bed, I'm rolling around, I'm trying to sleep on my back, I can't do it, I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna sleep on my stomach. Couldn't even fall asleep on my stomach, now I'm getting riled up, now I'm feeling anxious, and then I start to get a panic attack, and I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So I'm like, so much CBD oil, I'm like taking like a full dropper full, I'm taking all the anxiety, like, herbal supplements that my mom gave me, and I just wasn't calming down. I mean, I didn't know how to handle this kind of stuff. And so I like go to the bathroom and I'm like sobbing on this girl's floor. I called my friend who also experiences anxiety attacks, and I was like, or I FaceTimed her. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, and she was like trying to help me through it, but it's just like, in that moment, I was not there. I was like, I was freaking out. And so, moral of the story is I got 1 hour of sleep that night, maybe it was 30 minutes, and I woke up the next morning and I was anxious immediately the second I woke up. And I thought like, oh, I probably shouldn't drink. Like, that's not a good idea. Drinking doesn't give me anxiety, but because I was in an anxious state, I'm like, I shouldn't enhance it with drinking. And so then they're playing loud music in the kitchen and everyone's getting all hyped up for Blarney. And I'm over here like I felt like I was going to have another panic attack. Like, I just felt so on edge, and especially drinking, no sleep, anxiety, like, not a good mix. And one of her friends ended up coming out and like kind of talked me through it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling better now. I'm going to drink. I'm going to have a good day. And in the moment, I was like actually okay, but it did not help. I ended up having a great day. I drank. I was like, I don't know if I was like drunk, but like I was fine. And by the time we got home, I was not anxious the whole day. And then it started to get later at night. It started to become like 5 p.m. and I fell asleep on the couch. I napped on the couch for like an hour. And I woke up in a panic and it's dark and I'm like, oh my God, I need to go to bed now. Because I was so freaked out about not sleeping that I'm like, now is my chance. Like, I'm tired, let me fall asleep. So I get into bed, I take all my stuff and I lay in bed and I can't fall asleep. And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I didn't sleep for like the whole night. I didn't sleep for 24 hours. Like, what is wrong? And so I took Advil PM thinking that's gonna knock me out. Like, we'll be fine. It was the scariest thing because my whole body felt asleep, like paralyzed, and my brain was riled. And I'm like, no, I can't do this. So I called my mom, and thank God she came and got me. She drove 2 hours to come get me and pick me up and drove me home. Because at that point, like, I hadn't slept in a long, like, it was a long time because it was like 11 p.m. when I think she picked me up. And she drove me home, and I just remember on the car ride home, just like I was so exhausted, but I could not sleep. And every time like I'd start to shut my eyes, I'd feel anxious. And I just remember like literally hallucinating. Like, I started thinking I was seeing like creatures, like monsters or something, like in the trees, and it was freaking me out. It was scary. So my mom picks me up, she brings me home. I was hallucinating on the car ride home, and she just brings me home and I try and go to bed. And honestly, it was so sweet of her. She slept in my bed with me, like, to comfort me. And it's just like the whole night I was crying on and off. I just kept being like, Mom, I feel so anxious. Like, I can't sleep. My heart's beating out of my chest. Like, I don't know what's going on. And, you know, we tried everything to calm me down, but like at the end of the day, it just was not getting better. And I will say, like, being home for the weekend did help because I slept a little bit more than I would have at school. I probably slept like 8 hours for the whole weekend, which kind of stinks, but at least I was able to get some sleep. And so she drives me back to school on Monday, and I just remember it started to get dark out because it's winter time, so it was like 5:30, and the sun starts setting, and I start freaking out, and my friends were just like trying to be there and support me, but I was like, I'm not gonna fall asleep tonight, like, I'm freaking out, I don't know why, and I was crying, like, I was literally terrified that I wouldn't fall asleep that night, and I was just like so anxious. And so I remember thinking like, oh, a couple weeks prior I had smoked weed and it helped me go to sleep, honestly. So I'm like, let's try it again. No, it did not help. I am not a smoker, honestly. I've tried in the past, it makes me anxious. That one time it did help me fall asleep, but I smoked and all of a sudden it's like every thought that I had, every positive thought turned negative. And I don't know what was going on. So I'm like, okay, think about your family, like my mom, my dad. And all of a sudden these like intrusive thoughts started being like, they hate you, they're gonna die, like all this stuff, you're a terrible person. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? So it's like I couldn't even go to sleep from that because it was just turning negative. And thank God for my roommate again, Kat, you are amazing, because this girl, the amount of sleepless nights she had with me, we kept the lights on all night because I was so freaked out I couldn't fall asleep. And it's like, I knew there was something wrong because she's a night owl. She doesn't go to bed till like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm always early to go to bed. And when she was asleep and I was still awake, that's when I started feeling intense anxiety because I'm like, no, at this point, if she's asleep, I need to be asleep right now. So whatever, I'm freaking out. I could not sleep. Like, there were days on end where I just could not sleep. And I didn't end up sleeping for 72 hours. And that was... I hear that and I'm like, what? Like, that is so scary to think that, like, I was that anxious that I genuinely could not fall asleep. And so I remember going to class one morning, like a couple days after that, and I walked into class and I was tearing up, and so I went right to him and I was like, hey, listen, I need to go home, I'm not okay. This guy, you could tell he just wasn't really, like, he did not know how to handle a woman's emotions, because I'm like, I think I need to go home, and he's like, okay. Like, he did not know what to do. It's fine. Poor man's. But anyway, so I leave class, I go home, I pack up all my stuff, like, to go home again for the week. And then COVID hits. And now I'm home, and everyone's been sent home, and all my stuff is at school. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And then the cruise, again, is in the back of my mind, and we're supposed to be going on this cruise, and all my stuff's there, and I'm not sleeping, and I'm feeling anxious, and now I have to spend a week, I think it was a week for the cruise, yeah, with my ex-boyfriend who... like, what? He doesn't love me anymore, so how am I supposed to, like, feel okay on this? And so many things were happening. Again, the TMJ, the not sleeping, the ex-boyfriend, the cruise, you name it. I was going through it. And so my body, I genuinely believe the reason why these panic attacks started is because my body's never gone through this much stress in one period of time. And so for my body to just, like, one after the next, it was like, I don't know how to handle this, and went poof, and like anxiety. And that is just what happened to me. And so I remember us all being in a group chat with his family and, like, talking about, like, is the cruise still happening? Like, is it gonna get canceled because of COVID? Thank you, God. It was canceled. Thank God. Like, sure, that would have been so fun, but, like, Maggie, no. With everything happening, you did not need to go on a cruise with your ex-boyfriend who... there probably would have been something that happened on that cruise, and that wouldn't have been healthy for me, knowing everything that I had gone through with him and the fact that we weren't together anymore. And it's like, I did not need that. So thank you, God. It was a blessing in disguise, truly. A part of me was disappointed I had, like, cute dresses I had picked out, but it's like, no, I don't need to be going on this cruise looking good for someone who doesn't want me. No. No. So, anyway, that's that. But... so I come home, I'm home, and I was still kind of moving through this whole anxiety thing. And I was crying every single day. Like, I was not okay. I was crying, I wasn't able to eat. In 7 days, I lost 8 pounds because I was so anxious. I wasn't able to eat, I wasn't sleeping, I was crying every day. And, like, it was scary. It was really scary. And the way that I got myself out of that, now we're looking at the light, light at the end of the tunnel, because there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. It's like, sure, my experience with this was, like, so chaotic and traumatic and not anything I would wish on anyone. But I learned that, you know, I need to start getting ready for bed at 6:30, 7 o'clock. It sounds so extreme, but when you, and this is my best advice for people who really just are struggling with mental health, it's like, give yourself the compassion and take the time. You don't need to do anything crazy. Like, if I just threw myself into, like, oh, just start going to the gym and start doing all these things and start trying to eat, like, I couldn't even stomach bread. I would, like, feel like I was gonna throw up if I ate anything. And so it was the small steps that really helped bring me back to life, because at this point I didn't even feel human. I felt like this was how I was going to live my life for the rest of my life, and I was just kind of accepting that, and that made me cry even more and more anxiety. And so what I did was I started going to bed, not even going to bed early, but just preparing for bed, because I still wouldn't fall asleep till, like, late, if that. But slowly I started getting better. I started, like, getting tired earlier, and it got to a point where I created a sleep schedule for myself where I would go to bed at 10:30 and wake up at 6:30. And that structure helped me so much. But I'm telling you, it took me a while to get up to that point. Another thing I did was, like, going on walks, because I wasn't eating, I wasn't exercising, I I didn't feel okay mentally, but getting outside, getting fresh air, like we take advantage of the fact that like that is what can heal us. Nature, movement, getting fresh air. And this really helped just get me back into like, okay, back into a routine kind of thing, because I fell so far from reality is what it felt like. And slowly I started feeling better from those things. I started being able, like, even if I only took a couple of bites, that's why like when people struggle with being able to, with like eating disorders, like I've never truly experienced having an eating disorder, but it's like if you can only eat a little bit just to get yourself in that momentum, it can help tremendously. And again, I'm not someone who can necessarily speak on this because I haven't gone through it, so I don't fully understand what you're going through if you're someone who's gone through an eating disorder. But from my own experience and from the friends who I know who have gone through that, like, this is what helped me. This is my experience. So I started eating like little by little. If I could eat a piece of bread, that was amazing. Like, I'm so glad I was able to do that. And slowly, again, that momentum built up and I was able to eat more. And then I started to like just flow back into feeling like I was human again, feeling I was alive again. Because for a while it was really scary. Like I didn't know what was going to happen with my mental state. And so after that, you know, I told you like COVID hits, the world gets locked down or shut down. And so we're forced to be in our houses. And for a lot of people, they're like, COVID was the worst thing to happen to me. For me, it was the best thing to happen to me because I was able to grieve my relationship. I was able to heal. I was able to recognize that I was constantly searching for external validation from this guy and from all guys, not just him, my whole life. What am I trying to say? My whole life, I relied solely on validation from other people in order to feel whole, in order to feel good about myself. And so when I finally could realize that, okay, I don't have him anymore. How can I learn to live without a guy by my side? Or without adopting a crush? Because I used that as a crutch to fill up a void that I wasn't filling for myself. And so I truly learned how to start loving myself. Like oh my gosh, I did all these practices. I won't lie to you, like a lot of it did come from TikTok. I know it can be toxic in some ways, but I was like, my For You page was all self-love, confidence, like healing, getting over a breakup, learning to forgive the other person. And through all of that, I started seeing a therapist as well. All of these things that I did for myself, like I did this to overcome my anxiety. Again, I was in the worst place possible with how I felt mentally, but I was able to overcome my anxiety through all these little habits and getting the right sleep and just knowing how to like bring myself back to life and getting over this breakup. And the therapist, oh my gosh, it helped so much just to be able to go to someone weekly and just talk to someone. Like having that support helps tremendously. And so throughout all this, I started to feel okay again. And it's like, I'm so proud of myself. I look back at my old journals and I'm like, holy shit, like I did that. I went from the lowest you could possibly be to where I am today. And even like where I am today is so much farther than where I was back then years ago. But I'm so proud of myself. Like I'm so proud of my past self. And after all that, once people started being able to see each other again, I started being able to hang out with my friends again. Funny story, my ex is part of my friend group, so I had to see him again, and we just had to like be friends and be okay. And like that to me, that's not normal. It happens, it's common, but it's not normal to just like, when you break up with someone, you're supposed to cut ties. Like it's not healthy to be back around someone who you have so much of you have a soul tie with. Like you have a connection with them. And it's not easy to heal when you're constantly being put back into that same pattern of being around them. No matter how much you've healed, or no, I won't say that because I do think it's possible to be friends with an ex, but like far in the future. And so I just was like, oh, it's fine. Like I've healed, like I can be back around him, like whatever, it's normal. So all of our friends would hang out and there was a time where it's like, he wouldn't even look me in the eyes. I'm like, bro, you, what? Like, I thought we were cool. Like, I'm cool. Can't you be cool? But it's like, there was a part of me that was still like, anything for you, for your needs. Like, I don't want you to not want to be friends with me, so I'm gonna make you feel like we're okay, we're good. And that there's maturity in that, but there's also a people pleaser in that just wanted to feel okay. And so like I was pushing aside my feelings in order to make him feel safe and secure, like it's whatever, it happens. But so we all started hanging out. He started talking to me more, like things are getting back to normal. I'm like, oh, finally, like thank God things are normal again. And then of course I had a relapse not drugs, just like we were involved again for a little bit. Like there was something happened and we were involved with each other, and I was like, oh God, I can't believe that I let this happen. Like, we're supposed to be broken up. Like, I don't want to date him. Like, why am I allowing my old high school self to want him again? Because I know this is not good for me and I just got over this. And it's almost like I couldn't help myself though, because I was so attached to him for so long. So it's hard to get over these kind of things. And basically after that, I need to find a good way to word this, because again, when I say this, I'm not trying to talk poorly about anyone. This is just, from my point of view, this is my experience that I went through. And it hurt. And I want to be able to share this with you guys to show you that like you're not alone. These things happen every day. And I'm not trying to play the victim. I'm not trying to put people down. This is my experience. So basically what happened is, after we were involved with each other, it was like probably 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, I find out that we're all hanging out at his house, like having a party, and we're all drinking, and I had so much tequila. God, part of the reason why I don't drink anymore is because I just don't like what it does. Like, it's not fun. And I remember drinking, like, having so many shots of tequila. Me and my friend were just like, woo, let's just throw it back. And I was sobbing the whole night. And it had nothing to do with anyone. I just, like, as we know, like, alcohol brings this stuff out of us. So obviously there was a part of me that, like, it didn't have to do with him, but I was just, like, sad. Like, there was sadness in me that I had not healed, that was coming up because the alcohol was just doing this to me. This is just what it does. It's a antidepressant, yeah. And so I was sobbing, and apparently he thought I was crying over him. I'm like, bro, no, it was not it. But anyway, move on. I was crying, and I guess that night, one of my friends had made a comment that she was interested in him, getting involved with him in some way or another. And I didn't know about this till, like, after the fact. A friend told me, and of course you're like, ugh, crushed. Like, seriously? I'm just getting over him. I'm still, like, slightly, like, big toe in the water involved with him. And now all of a sudden I hear that my friend, who I've told all my stuff to, like, about our history the past 7 years and all this stuff, my friend is interested in him. And it hurt really bad. It did. And what I did maturely is I made the conscious decision to be like, I'm going to have a conversation with her. I'm not mad at her. I just want to talk to her. So I had a conversation. I said, hey, I just knowing all of our history, I get it, but like, I'd really prefer if as a friend you could just not do this. I get it. If you have true feelings, like, I don't know. I still, to this day, I'm like, shit, it's tough. But it ended up being like a behind my back thing where they did end up getting involved, and it just hurt really bad. And again, I'm not doing this to talk shit about them. This is my experience. And so it was just this thing where now the friend group, there was like a divide in the friend group where I knew this was happening. They didn't know that I knew, but they thought I knew because of the whole crying fiasco when I was drinking. They thought I found out and I was crying over that. I'm like, no, it was not about you. It was not about that. I didn't even know. But whatever. So that happens, and it's like this hidden secret. We're not talking about it. I'm still hanging out with all of them, knowing this is happening, but I'm not supposed to know. Like, that is heavy. It's heavy. And so, and then they would still invite me to things, and I'm like, it got to a point where I was like, why am I still going? Why am I still involving myself with them. It's something that hurts me so bad. I'm choosing. I have a choice. I'm done playing the victim. I have a choice. I am choosing to put myself in a situation that I know is going to hurt me. We're done with that. And so I made the very difficult decision to stop hanging out with my friends. I was like, I can't keep putting myself in these events where I'm going to feel hurt and just not be able to speak on it. Because then it looks like Maggie's being dramatic and Maggie's overreacting, and every time that he gets involved with a girl, Maggie sobs. Like, I didn't want to play into that drama. So I was like, all right, then I'm going to make the decision. I'm not going to hang out with them anymore. Of course, that stirs up Maggie's being dramatic. Let them talk. Let them talk. I was doing what's best for me. I don't care how it affected anyone else. This was what's best for me. So that whole thing happened, and I started distancing myself. And it got to a point where I'm not proud of this. I'm not. I was talking poorly behind their backs. I was, because I was hurt. And it doesn't mean that I have to stoop to their level. And it was not okay for me to speak the way I did. But I'm owning up to it now. And everyone makes mistakes. We're all human. And that's why I've forgiven them. Like, from a distance, the closure that I needed, I've forgiven them, because we all make mistakes and we make hurt people, and we're all growing and we're all figuring out life. And so, but I ended up basically, my ex confronted me and was like, I don't like you're talking about her behind her back and all this, and it just became this big drama. And I was like, you guys are gaslighting me. Like, it was just whole this. And then I texted her and I'm like, I'd love to talk. And she said, I don't want to talk. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I get it. Moral of the story, it was a whole blow up where I felt hurt. They felt like I was making it into this big drama, which in their experience, yeah, maybe I was. But in my experience, I was being hurt by my friend. I was being hurt by my ex and my friend. Because, again, we'd been friends for years. And the whole friend group was just like there were sides. And everyone was talking shit about everyone. There was so much drama. And I'm like, I'm done with it. I'm so done with it. I can't be friends with people who are constantly... And I was one of those friends. We're not going to let me slide. I was one of those friends talking shit too, because I was hurt. I needed to remove myself from this toxic environment at this point. And so that night, I went home and I literally sobbed. I was like, I just lost my group of friends of 10 years. Like, I could cry now thinking about it. Like, when you have that much history with people and you're so tied to these people, it doesn't matter how great or how bad the friendships were. That shit sucks. It sucks. 10 years, it sucks. And so I let myself cry, I let myself feel, I let it all out. And then I thought, you know what? We're moving on. I still had like 2 friends from that group that I was like one-on-one friends with, that I'm like, this is all that matters, because one of my best friends is in that group. And I was like, I just have to be okay with this. And I let myself cry, and I started looking at, how can I take control of this situation? Okay, I don't have my friend group anymore. I just lost my whole friend group. But it doesn't mean I don't have friends. I have my friends at college. I have my family friends who were coming over the next day. I think it was like, I don't know if it was my brother's graduation party or something like that. But I was able to spend time with family and spend time with family friends and be around people who loved me and cared about me. And that to me was like, I'm going to be okay. I don't need anyone in my life who's going to mistreat me in any way. I'm not going to stand for the disrespect. I'm not going to put myself in situations and around certain people that don't treat me the way I want to be treated, because I deserve more than that. And so that really was a huge pick-me-up, like doing that. And then 2 weeks later, it's time to go back to school. Thank God this all happened at the end of the summer. I won't lie, it was like stretched out throughout the whole summer, but the big blow-up happened at the end. And then I went back to school, and I was so excited because I left out this part because we have at my school we have an internship program, so I was starting my internship in the fall. And basically we had a thesis class, and then it was just the internship the whole year. And I was going to be working at the Hawthorne Hotel in Salem. And oh my god, that was like so amazing, and I can't wait to talk about it because it was so transformational for me. And so I was looking forward to this growth. But let me tell you, when she interviewed me, my supervisor, she was like, I want to let you know, like, Halloween, October is our busy season. Like, are you ready for all of this? And at the time of the interview, I'm like, yes. In my head, I'm like, fuck no. No. What? I am not someone who works hard. I'm not someone who is smart. I'm not someone who's capable. I had all these negative beliefs about myself, and I just did not believe that I was capable of succeeding at this internship. So basically, I kind of just was like, all right, I'm just going to go for it. So flash forward, go back in the fall, and I was, oh my God, I remember, wait for the interview, I forgot that I went to CVS, and I was taste testing. I was testing the nail polishes on my fingers, and I forgot to take off the nail polish for the interview. So I had all these different colored nail polishes, like not even fully painted. Bro, I think about that all sometimes it'll just like pop up in my head and I'm like, what? No. Anyway, we're gonna move on. So it's fine, we're all human. We make mistakes. But it's just a silly little story. So flash forward to the fall, and I start my internship, and I'm super excited, and I'm just like, basically it was a rotational experience, so I got to do sales and marketing, front desk, events, culinary, am I missing anything? Management, like I got to actually be a manager on duty, which was actually pretty cool. And I even asked to bartend. I was like, can I learn how to bartend? Like, I just want to get as much out of this as possible. And they were like, yeah, why not? So it was like a little bit of everything. And again, I was so scared. I'm like, I'm not capable. How am I going to pull this off? And so I really just was like thrown into the fire. And I had an amazing supervisor. Elena was absolutely incredible. She's such a hard worker. She helped to show me what I'm capable of, because I am capable, but she helped guide me in the direction. And so, and the quote that I always use, and I will forever use this, and it's something that she said to me, is all you can do is the best you can do. And I bring it back to what I teach these days, which is like, we're all human. We make mistakes. Failure happens. It's not failure. It's what's going to lead us to success. Like, failure is feedback. All we can do is the best we can do. Even if on certain days, like, your best is at like a 30% rather than 100%, like, that's what matters, is that you're trying your best. And so, I mean, there were instances where she was like, oh, go run this event. Like, go talk to the bride. And I'm like, what do I say? She's like, I don't know, just go greet her. And I'm like, my anxiety was like, I don't know what to say. Like, I have no idea how to do this. I've never done this before. That's the theme. When you've never done something before, you're gonna feel scared. You're gonna feel fear. That's totally normal. But what matters is that you feel the fear, you see it in your mind's eye, and you just run head on at fear. And you just trust, you gotta build this trust with yourself that you're not gonna sound like an idiot. You're gonna be able to do it. You're gonna pull it off. You can do it. And if you sound like an idiot, you don't. But if you think you do, you learn from it. You know what to do next time. We all make mistakes. You can't avoid that, you know? So I was thrown into it, and I did a great job. And like, also, fun fact, if any of you guys know The Real Housewives of New York, I was on the show. They filmed at the hotel when I was interning there, so I actually was on the show, which is actually so cool. I had a lot of issues with that too, where I'm like, oh God, I have to act perfect. I have to know what I'm doing. Can I just be Maggie? Can I just be myself and know that I'm doing the best I can do and I'm putting in the work? And by the end of it, like, my supervisor, the evaluation I got was like, Maggie is such a hard worker. She learns so quickly. She's a breath of fresh air. I got all these amazing compliments, and it's not anything to like stroke my ego kind of thing. It was like the fact that I proved to myself, having all these limiting beliefs and just running head on at fear, all I can do is the best I can do, and just making that shit happen. I proved to myself that I am all of those things she said. And I've always been those things. It was just a matter of running through the fear, stepping out of my comfort zone, I make a joke about this, and it might be a little mean, but like, I truly believe my frontal cortex developed during this internship, because that's how much I like grew. It was absolutely insane. And these are when we grow the most, when we put ourselves in situations where we don't believe that we're going to do well, but we just are like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway, and we thrive. Those are the moments when you step out of your comfort zone and you actually make the leap, the quantum leap, and you prove to yourself that you can do it. So that internship was like absolutely incredible, super huge growth period in my life. During this time too, I want to preface that like I was healing from my breakup, so I stopped drinking because anxiety, like I'm telling you, I had a sip of alcohol and I immediately felt anxious, and it was totally in my head. Like, one sip, come on. But it just triggered something in me that was like, no, I can't feel out of control, because I felt so out of control for so long with it. So I stopped drinking. I was super like healed, into personal development. I read You Are a Badass. I'm getting into like spirituality and stuff. And naturally, when we change, we lose some people. I was not the same people-pleasing follower. I don't want to call myself an alcoholic. I did drink a lot. I'm not going to use that word, though, because I don't think I was an alcoholic. But what's the definition of an alcoholic? I don't know. Then it gets a little, what's the fine line? Because it's like someone who uses substances to cope. I didn't think I was coping. I always said to myself, like, oh, I don't need alcohol or weed or whatever to have fun. Like, my personality, like, I can just have fun still being sober. And I can, but in college, I definitely used it to a point where it was, like, it allowed me to be my authentic self, because then I wasn't, like, worrying about other people judging me or whatever I was saying, you know? So, we're not going to call it that, but we're just going to know that I abused it a little bit. And so, yeah, that's what we'll call it, because that actually makes so much more sense now that I say it out loud. But anyway, so my college friends, like my group of girlfriends, not all of them, but naturally, what I think happened, because I don't even know how to say this, basically they stopped wanting to hang out with me. Not all of them, just a few of them. And that was really hard for me, because I'm like, I just lost my friend group of 10 years, and now my friends here don't want to hang out with me. Like, we've been friends for 4 years. Like, what's going on? Why am I losing all my friends? And is it me? Am I the problem? But what we don't understand, or what we don't think about often, is that when you when you go through a huge growth period in your life, and you don't like doing the things that you always like doing, the people that are still in those places, and it's not to say that that's a bad place to be in, but it's like I grew more into myself and more into like what my values are, and I don't like drinking anymore. I'm not a party girl, and it sounded like I just said party girl. Party girl. And I genuinely believe that she didn't like that I wasn't in her control anymore. I used to be a follower. I was a people pleaser. Anything she wanted, I did, because I looked up to her. I thought she was so cool, and I think that lack of control over me, this is just my experience, but I think she didn't like that, and I think it was like, oh, I don't want to hang out with Maggie anymore, exclude her. And one of my other friends at the time was just kind of like, go along with it. We are best friends to this day. No hard feelings at all. Like, we've made up, we've understood where we went wrong in certain areas. But yeah, it was just really hard to like think that my friends didn't want to be friends with me anymore, especially after everything I just went through. But instead of, I let myself cry for a weekend. Honestly, I took a weekend, I sobbed, I called my cousin, she's always there to support me and like made me feel better. And I'm like, hold on, Maggie. Again, the whole thing of like, I'm not going to put myself in situations that I know are going to hurt me anymore. What came through to me with this was like, I'm not going to beg people to be in my life. Why am I still like, hey guys, do you want to hang out? Hey, what are you guys doing tonight? You going out this weekend? Can I come? Like, I felt so embarrassing. I felt so desperate. I felt like when you have true friends, it's a mutual thing. There's a mutual effort. So why was I begging these people to include me. Like, that felt so bad to me. So I'm like, I'm not gonna beg people to be in my life. So after that weekend, I kind of was like, you know what? I have other friends. Like, I think I made it into this whole drama in my head of like, I don't have any friends now. Like, nobody likes me. I have no friends. Why do people not want me? When it's like, can I open my eyes and be like, I don't have a friend group anymore, but I have so many individual friends. So like, if you're one of those people and you're watching this right now, like, I promise you I did not forget about you, and I'm sorry that you caught me in the slumps a little bit. But I had so many friends, so I started hanging out with these people individually and like hanging out with their friends, and they were amazing. And it was just so good to be around people who actually wanted me around. And that is when I was like, holy shit, that was like the biggest revelation I had. And I enjoyed the rest of my college season, bro. I enjoyed the rest of my college semester or year. Because I was hanging around people who actually wanted me there and who I actually wanted to be around. And so that was a huge shift in my confidence, my sense of like what I'm worth, and my sense of self-respect. Yeah, so I ended up losing that group of friends, and I just accepted it. Instead of like, what we resist persists. I love that quote. When I was resisting like the fact that they didn't want me around, and I'm like, no, please, 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 like beg. That's when it just kept being like, we don't want you around, and like persist. And when I finally just like let go, spent time with people who want me around, that is when life started getting so much better, so much sweeter, however you want to put it. Yeah, so I enjoyed the rest of my college year, and that's basically it for that story. And then the fourth, or maybe this is like literally the fifth or seventh thing that I've talked about, but the final thing that really impacted my confidence was when I graduated college, I started this job at an assisted living home, and my goal was like, I want to manage my own assisted living home. I have such a love for the elderly. Like, all I want to do is help them, make them feel important. Like, some people are like, ew, the elderly. Like, no, I love them. Like, yes, I'm a confidence coach, and I want to help women in their 20s, 30s, whatever, like, build confidence, but there's another part of me that has such a sweet spot for the elderly, and just like making them feel loved, making them feel cared for, because it's something that is so overlooked, and they are treated so poorly. And if I love that I could be someone to make them feel important, and not just like have these other workers who just treated them like shit. Like, it's just so hard to watch. So that's another part of I'll talk about that in like a future video, but that was a huge part of who I was, like my background. I also went to college for hospitality. That's what I graduated in for my degree. But I went to this new job. I got the job right off the bat. I was very confident that I was going to get this job, especially after my internship. I'm like, I was a manager. I've done sales, marketing. Like, I've done all of it. Like, I know I'm qualified for this job. It was a supervisor position in their culinary department. And I'm like, it's just a start. This is not going to be what I do for the rest of my life, but I love it. Like, or not love it. I'll get the job, and it'll put me in a management position in order to like understand this department so that I can really get the whole shebang and know how to run my own one day. And so what I did was I started this job. It was a startup location, so it was all new. It was like, I remember my boss being like, this is your dining room, like, do what you want with it, decorate it how you want, all this stuff. And I'm like, ooh, like, I've never had this kind of, because again, at the internship, like, yes, I was an intern, and I was looked at as a supervisor. In my opinion, I do believe that people viewed me that way, even though I was an intern, because I was like alongside my supervisor. It was like a little mini Elena. But here it was like, this is my place, like, this is my thing, and like, I don't know, it was cool to have that for the first time. And so as time went on, we got new people coming in, like startup. There's a lot of stress that comes with a startup. But what I noticed was everyone was so damn negative. And I'm like, guys, I'm here like, this is my life's purpose. I want to work with the elderly. I just want to help them. We had like 2 residents at the time. Like, it was brand new, I'm telling you. But everyone I was surrounding myself with, like, first of all, I was 22 at the time. I was not respected. as a supervisor, as a manager, they did not look at me. The adults did not look at me like I could tell them what to do because I was younger. And that's not on me, that's on them for not being able to, like, they're projecting. There's a part of them that they cannot be told what to do by, I'm not a child, but like, to them, I probably looked like I was a child. And so, ageism is real, whether it's you're older or you're younger, it doesn't matter. So, I was bullied by this one woman. Oh, she was not a very happy woman. She was miserable. And it's like everything in her power, it felt like she was just trying to like be mean to me and bully me. And it was like, I don't know, I won't go into too much detail, but like moral of the story, I was bullied and I just tried to go in there every day with like a positive attitude. And again, I had healed from my breakup. I had gotten into personal development. I'm like, I have control over my happiness. I have control over my this, that. But it's like I would go in there and I would cry and I was not okay. And then I was spoken to by the chef, and he was like, you really shouldn't cry here. It's unprofessional. I'm like, bro, I can't help it. There's so many emotions in here. And like, that's why I say to you guys, like, feel your feelings. Don't be ashamed by them. Like, the fact that I am able to feel so deeply, I'm able to help so many people and resonate with them or relate with them just because of that. And I'm a sensitive girl. I'm an emotional girl, and I'm not ashamed of that. And the fact that I have to be told not to cry, I get it to an extent. Like, it looks unprofessional. But also, I'm being bullied. I'm being, like, very brutally torn down. And I'm not trying to, like, play victim here. Like, I fully understand that, if that's the case, take myself out of that situation. And that's what I did. I was offered a management position at another location. Like, they really wanted me to stay. And I'm like, I can't do this. This is not where I want to be. So I took myself out of the situation. And I just realized that, again, why am I going to put myself in a situation where I'm going to get hurt? So, again, it just came down to, like, I stood up for myself so much there. I started confronting people more and being like, hey, I don't want to be treated this way. Like, I actually started making it happen because I'm like, I'm not going to be little old Maggie who lets people walk all over her anymore. Like, I've done so much and I know what I'm capable of now, and I know that I'm a good person, and this behavior is not acceptable. And so I really got the courage to stand up for myself. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what, Maggie? Your mental health is so much more important than this job, which is, I ended up leaving, but I ended up getting certified as a life coach because I started getting all these advertisements being like, oh, do you want to become a life coach? And I'm like, yeah, why not? Like, seems like I like to help people. Like, why not? And help people with what I went through. And what I went through is like, I lost myself in this relationship, this 7-year-long thing. I learned to love myself. I started to find myself and understand like personal development and how to better myself and know that I'm in control of how I act in this life and not think of myself as the victim. And I can choose to not feel insecure, and I can choose to put myself out of my comfort zone and grow and just be better and feel more capable and change my beliefs. And that's what I did throughout this whole process. I learned that there were so many things that were blocking my confidence, and I identified the beliefs that were doing that, and I shifted the narrative and I reframed it in order to amplify my confidence. And this is something that, this is what I am able to do now for other women. And I feel so connected to this because I know what it felt like to go through a breakup, go through anxiety, lose all your friends, feel like put down and disrespected at a job that you know you're good at, but you just were not respected for it. I knew what it felt like to feel insecure and feel ugly and be bullied when I was younger and tense up and get all like face red anxiety because I thought people were better than me and put people on a pedestal. And I was like, I am done with living like this. I want you to be done with living like this. You have a choice in this lifetime. Sorry, I thought my camera just died for a second. You have a choice in this lifetime to be confident. You are already confident. It's just a matter of stripping back all these layers, all these limiting beliefs that are holding you back from being your most confident self and from actually learning the tools and the skills and the mindsets in order to get yourself into a place where You feel confident, you love yourself, you can stand up for yourself and set boundaries, and you're not people pleasing anymore because you have too much self-respect for that, for people to walk all over you. And figuring out what you want to do in life and knowing the direction that you want to go. There are so many things that make up confidence, and I can confidently tell you, like, I've been there. I get it. Whatever you're feeling right now, like, I feel you. I get it. And this is why I do what I do. This is my story, and I wanted to share this with you because I think it's so important to me that you know who I am, you know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I just want to connect with you guys. I said this on my Instagram. I love Instagram. I love the platform. But I am a woman of detail, and I need to be able to just talk and express myself through YouTube now. Maybe this will go up on a podcast too. I do want to start a podcast. I am starting a podcast. So thank you guys for listening. This is probably like an hour long, but it's my story, and I'm not ashamed that it's a long story because I need you guys to hear this. I need you to know that I feel you. I resonate with you. And if you're someone who's going through any of the things that I just talked about, breakup, anxiety, like anything I talked about, just know that you're not alone. I completely get everything that you're feeling right now. And it doesn't have to be like this forever. You are already confident within you. It's just a matter of removing the blocks so that you can amplify your confidence. It is possible for you. If it was possible for me, it's possible for you because we are no different. I love you guys. Mwah.